Hello, everyone, and welcome to Connecting with Jennifer Filzen. Today we have Andrea Aal, and let's tell you a little bit about her. Andrea Aal is a classically trained actress with over 25 years of experience in Hollywood, appearing in soap operas, sitcoms, and commercials on major networks. Her career journey also included a successful stint as director of consumer advertising at The Hollywood Reporter. After returning to the Bay Area, San Francisco Bay Area, to focus on sobriety, Andrea rediscovered her passion for performing and transitioned into audiobook narration. She brings empathy, resilience, and a love of storytelling to her work, specializing in narratives that highlight transformation and growth. With her warm, engaging voice and sharp comedic instincts, Andrea excels in bringing characters and stories to life. Welcome, Andrea.
Thank you for inviting me.
Of course, of course. So you bring all this wonderful Hollywood experience to narrating books, which is amazing. Um, your history is amazing. So do me a favor and just kind of, if you don't mind, break it down for us. There are so many people who do narration. There are so many people that have the background that you have. What is it in the world that makes you special and unique?
Well, a couple things. One is I used to have on my website perfectly imperfect. And the reason that I have that is my best girlfriend always teases me, as does my husband, that I appear to be in my full Nordstrom. Is what he calls it, which is dressed to the nines, hair and makeup and all. But inside, I'm a little bit klutzy and I have ADHD, so I'm neurodivergent, as a lot of narrators are. And so that part wants to escape that inner turmoil or that inner, whatever you want to call it. And what I learned growing up in a family of five kids very early on was that laughter is what would get me the attention of my parents. And so I learned to be funny. I had to. I had to learn how to be somebody who could make my parents laugh in order to get their attention. And I think that sense of humor, is what makes me unique.
Just out of curiosity, where are
I'm
you in
not
the
being funny
scale
right
of the
now, though.
five? Are you the youngest?
I'm the eldest, as
Oh,
they say.
interesting. Oh, wow.
Yeah,
So you had quite the responsibility on your shoulders and you had to
I
make them
did.
laugh.
I did, and my parents or my mom used to call me Little Mama because they would get this. They would give me this is when I was about three, but I already had two brothers. And my mother would give me a penny to babysit.
Hmm.
Okay. That's how that's how long ago that was, and I give my mother a hard time to this day about that.
Oh, that's funny. So now I love that you're perfectly imperfect. I think that's very sweet. Now, we all have a something that gets us out of bed every day,
Yeah,
right?
right.
And sometimes it can be rather challenging being neurodivergent. It's getting
No
your
kidding.
tasks done, making sure that everything is done, double checking, triple checking, quadruple checking sometimes to make sure it's all complete. But we all have a why, right? And
Yeah.
sometimes that why changes as we get older. What is your why in the current state of your life?
Well, Jennifer, I back to the first question, I wanted to add something that's really important to me and that I think also makes me unique. Not unique, but also gives me something that I can add to my not resume, but to my readings as I'm narrating. I have 13 years of sobriety, and I am very proud of that. And I wanted to tell you that I have two husbands. No, I don't have currently two husbands. I have had two husbands, both named Bruce. Okay. I don't know. That's not a super common name, but one Bruce taught me to drink, shall I say, and the other Bruce I met him in sobriety in AA. So I always find that that's helps me read, I think, more with compassion and empathy for people going through challenges. And I can also speak from that voice of authority of knowing what I went through and maybe helping other people with their challenges. So actually, that's also part of my why. We can combine them. Um, the why is how can I impart some of my wisdom, some of the things that I've learned, and make it uh, also interesting. Because sometimes a nonfiction book can be dry. You know that. So, what I think I bring to it is um, a feeling of understanding and the challenges that go with it, and then also being able to still have that authority of knowing what it was to go through getting sober, which is not easy.
Yeah. Well, narrating books is also not easy. I
True.
remembered doing the narration of my own book, The Give to Get Principle, which is that orange book right there. And that took so many takes and edits and all that stuff. How, tell us a little bit about your process. How do you do it? How do you not do it like the same thing 13 times over? How do you make sure that the audio is clear? How do you like please share with us a little bit about the job and life of a professional narrator.
Well, one of the things that I do, besides preparing the book, now you already knew your book. You didn't really have to prepare because you wrote it. But so going through the book, reading it at least once. But the other thing that professional narrators do is something called punch and roll. And if you don't narrate all the time, I don't know that you would have learned that. It's a technique where you're recording, you make a mistake, and I have my audio set up so that I can roll back 5 seconds and start. And so I hear the last 5 seconds, and I like to actually read with myself as I'm hearing that. And then when I go in, when it starts recording, because it won't be recording for those 5 seconds, I'm reading it, and then the 5 seconds are over and it starts recording, and I'm like rolling right into the sentence. And that's a technique that you learn if you were to go to, any classes to for software or to just in terms of learning to narrate. That's something that is taught. But before
Whoa.
that, like I would have not known. I would have, and then it can sound choppy. And most publishers they expect that you're going to punch and roll. You don't have to do the other editing, but you do have to give them clean audio. So you're going to, otherwise you're going to get what they call a lot of pickups, which is where you made mistakes. So I try very hard to catch my mistakes before I send anything out.
Wow, that's
Yeah. It's
amazing.
it's quite a but you know what? It's something that you learn. It's like driving a car or getting on a bike. You learn how to do it and then you know how to do it and it
Right.
becomes easy.
Get out there and roll that wheel every time. Right.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And so the other part of your question is what gets me out of bed is that desire to express myself. It's funny, I was an actress for many, many years. And then I gave it up to I personally did not want to turn 40 and still be a slash actor slash waitress. And I hadn't really gotten my big break. So it was kind of like, what do I do now? And I had a friend who worked for the Hollywood Reporter, a friend of my mom's actually. And she helped me get an interview there. It took about a year of, trying to get the interview, trying to get the interview, finally getting the interview, and then getting the job. And what was cool about that was I didn't have to audition anymore. I was in Hollywood in a way, different way, but I was going to everything like the Emmys, the Oscars, the Golden Globes, and I didn't have to audition for those. I was automatically invited as part of the consumer advertising team, and I rose to the director of consumer advertising in about 2 years. And then I was the national director, and that was fun.
That is so cool. Oh, we just froze.
Oh,
Oh, okay. So anyway, and so you were saying that that was fun, and
it
then
it was really it was a way of being close to the business without being having that pressure of auditioning all the time. And when you're acting professionally, it's like you get these little carrots, or I would, so you get a commercial. here, and you get a little stage, you get a regional theater part, or you get a small part in a sitcom, which I did several times. So it keeps you going, but it's never really, if you don't get that big break. Yeah, and every time I would get a role, like I had a role on General Hospital, and I thought, this is it. This is it. I'm going to, they're going to see how great I am, and they're going to give me a regular role, right? This is my mind. And then after the 3 recurring days, it's like, bye bye. And so you have to get a hard shell. You have to get a hard, tough skin. But also, those little carrots keep you going for another 6 months and another 6 months. And it's one of those careers that can kind of keep you hanging on. And that's what I felt at a certain point, and that's why I wanted that different job, a different way of being close to the business, but not facing the reject. I only had to face the rejection of people not wanting my advertising. Not it wasn't me that they didn't want.
Yeah, I know what you mean. And it's funny, the same can be said for dancers or musicians.
Oh, very much.
Not everybody who is an aspiring rock star is able to make it big time enough to sustain themselves. Although there are plenty of people who are plumbers by day, accountants by day, musicians by night, living out that dream, but with the practical sense. Same thing with dancers, right? You've got a lot of people who are really into ballet or they're into their dancing, but not everybody is a full-time professional dance instructor.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so I'm
It
kind
was
of
something
curious.
that I had wanted to be, and I know why, because of that thing I told you earlier, where if I could make my parents laugh, and hearing that laughter, and I did a lot of comedy improv. I loved that. That laughter, just speaking of a reason to get up, and it's harder with audiobooks because there's nobody in here with me. You know,
That's
there's
true.
nobody laughing. There's nobody, you know, I, there's something about hearing the audience and interacting with the audience. And that really changed a lot for people after COVID, too, because we weren't, especially in the first year, we just weren't doing plays, we weren't going on auditions, and it becomes very lonely in a way.
Yeah.
So, but imagining that my book, and I often will put a picture of my best friend on my screen where I'm reading the script, and imagine that I'm telling her that story and that she's laughing to give me that sort of boost that I need.
Well, that's cool. That's a
Yeah.
cool way to do it. Also, too, like I'm just so curious, we all serve somebody in our lives, right? And so I think of it like layers to an onion. The people that are closest to us, that's the core. And then of course, the acquaintances and then, the greater community at large. So who do you serve in your life?
Well, this is a great question because I think I told you I bought your book. I listened to it.
So nice of you.
And
Thank you.
the give to get, sorry, I know you've
Thank
written
you.
more than one. And it was so interesting to me because one of the things that I'm trying to learn for myself when we send something called a reach out to publishers. And it's sort of a like, if you haven't met them, it's an introduction. But if you have met them, it's reminding them, hey, I'm out here. And one of the things that I think is so important, but I don't always remember to do it, is to try to see how can I help you?
Mm,
How can I be of service to you rather than can I have a job? Can I have a job?
mm,
I feel like it's so important, Jennifer, and it's not as easy to do in an email. At least I haven't figured it out yet, as it is to do like if when I used to go on sales calls, I would bring packages of candy and cupcakes and just little things to tell these people, hey, you're important to me, and I appreciate you. It's a little bit harder, and maybe I'm going to sign up for something with you later so you can help me work on that. 'Cause I know you do a lot of that in your social media and that kind of thing. I'm not afraid to say I could use some help in that department.
Well, here are some thoughts. Video. Video
Yes.
is so critical. And just in the last few days, like here we are on Monday, but in the last few days, and I think it's because it's December and I'm trying to create messages to clients going, hey, here are some things to consider. And the video seems more powerful and conveys the emotion better than an email.
I
So I'm just
agree.
making these little videos like, hey, here's some cool stuff that's new. I can't help but wonder if you doing a video of yourself reading a passage from a book that you know that you want to narrate
Mm-hmm.
would be a really like, especially if you're already like, I don't know, I could see a snippet. Like, for example, let's just say you're reading a passage out of something that you're working on right now. And even if it's not needing a narrator at all,
Mm-hmm.
you can say, there's this really cool passage that just struck me, and I'd like to show you how I narrate it. What do you think? And then that way they can see you in your genius. And another thought that I have is Leonard, who works for me. When he became our intern, because he was going to school at Cal State Monterey Bay, and he wanted to be an intern. I didn't have a spot for him, but I had two projects that I could fit him into. And I said, well, which one would be ideal for you? And he goes,
Mm-hmm.
oh, the one with standard operating procedures. That would be really cool. I'm like, okay, yay. That's hard to document standard operating procedures. And then I said, I don't have many resources to pay you for this. And then he came up with something genius, and I wish I could have included him in the book, but he came later. But he said, "How about if I work on this project for a month for free, and then if you like what I've done, then we'll negotiate." And I was like, "How can I resist that?"
Yeah.
So I can't help but wonder if for you you might do a portion of a
Mm-hmm.
book for free. Or you know what I mean? Like do the first chapter and
Yeah.
say, here's me doing this. Thoughts? And then
You
they can
know,
go, well, hot damn, she did it in that speed of time and she sounds that good. Let's have her do the rest of it. Like, I just can't help but wonder um, how you might get out there in the world by utilizing the gift to get principle.
you know what? It's so interesting that you would say that because just recently I heard another narrator on like a little group that I'm in saying that she's offering to read the first chapter of any author's book who wants to engage her for free. I don't know if she's getting work from it, but my goodness, she's getting exposure. And I think she's doing it on TikTok. I get very afraid of TikTok because I just don't know how to do it exactly. Um, but you could do it on Instagram. You
You
know,
can do it
there's a
on
lot of
YouTube.
places you could do it.
You can do it on
Facebook,
YouTube.
YouTube. Yep.
Yeah.
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 So I think it's a great idea. And you can, one of the things that I was thinking is looking for people who don't have audiobooks, but whose book resonates with me, and writing to them and saying, "Hey, here," and even just giving them like a 2 minute paragraph
Yeah.
of me paragraph 2 minute 2 minute audio
Sure.
uh, of narration, so they could hear, and maybe it would pique their interest, for whatever reason they haven't chosen to do an
Yeah.
audiobook.
Yeah.
But I love
It's
the
true.
idea of the video. Maybe you'll maybe you and I can maybe you can direct me a little bit.
Oh, honey, don't be afraid of it. You just turn on your phone, record it. Don't worry about it. Or you get into Zoom and you record yourself in Zoom,
Yeah.
or you invest in the software I use. I have a Mac, and so
Yeah,
I
me
have
too.
what is it called? I was calling it what it was earlier, and ScreenFlow. That's what I use.
Oh, ScreenFlow. Okay,
So that's
I'm
for a
gonna.
Mac, yeah. But I
Yeah,
like
I have a Mac. What's interesting too is what do you think about Loom?
I've heard good things about Loom. I believe it has a 5 minute limit.
Yeah, I think you're right. I'm just writing. I'm taking a little note there. I'm
And
writing down about ScreenFlow.
I don't know if it's editable, but ScreenFlow, I paid for it once and that's it. I never,
Really?
yeah, and it's been on my computer for years and I've recorded so many things and you know, I can't quite do what did you call it? A rock and roll? No, a knock and go. I don't know.
You mean Punch and Roll?
Punch and roll. Thank you. I'm like rock and roll,
Yeah,
punch and roll.
punch and
So I
roll.
can't quite go back 5 seconds, but what I can do when I'm making a video and I screw up, I just, and then I start from where I left over. That
You
way I
take a
can just
moment.
edit. I
Yeah.
can just cut the video piece that doesn't fit.
Now, is that video or just audio
It's
that you're
video.
talking about?
It's video,
Video.
but it also
Ah,
can convert it into an audio file. So there's a
got
separate
it.
audio file that goes along with the video.
I'll have to
Yeah,
experiment with that.
it's a
I
two
do
for
think you're
one
right. I do think you're right because I always feel like I'm better in person. And so what's the closest thing that we can get to in person
video.
on a Zoom is a little video. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I apologize because this whole time I've been like giving you advice, but I want to hear advice from you. So, you have so much experience. You bring so much to the table. There are several pieces of advice I want to ask you for.
Okay.
So, for someone who wants to uh, get into Hollywood and do the actress gig and the waitress gig, kind of thing, what is it? I mean, you mentioned carrots, but like what are the pieces of advice that you have for anyone who strives to act?
Well, I would have to say there's a couple of different things. One is you have to want it. You have to want it more than you want most anything else because it's tough, it's hard. And there were many times where I didn't want to quit, but I was very discouraged.
Mm,
And you've got to be able to either have a friend group or family or, hey, therapy. I had lots of therapy in order to maintain my positive image of myself because it's really easy to get knocked down
mm,
and you don't know why they didn't choose you. They don't call you up to say, "Hey, here's why we didn't choose you." No, you don't hear unless you get it, right? Or unless you get a call back and then you know you're closer and then you just one example, I had I don't know if you remember a soap opera called Santa Barbara. And I had 4 auditions for the producers, and they told me the role is yours if Marcy Walker from All My Children does not move to LA from New York. And son of a gun, she moved. And I mean, so I was this close, and stuff like that can be life changing. So it's you really have to have a thick skin. I was also in the Miss Hollywood pageant where it was a talent pageant and I was promised I was going to be one of the top 10. Then you're on live television when they're reading the names of the top 10 and you don't hear yours. And it is just like it's just something you must be aware of as you if you want to do this job and this career, you really have to be able to withstand those types of rejections. And the other thing that's cool now, which they didn't have when I was young, um, is this YouTube and places where you can be seen, where you could be seen by the world almost on TikTok. I always thought to myself, gosh, I wish they'd had that. Then I could have, of course we don't know what would have happened, but in my mind, I'm like, boy, if they had that, I could have been a star. No, but we didn't have those opportunities. So I think nowadays it is, I don't know if I want to say easier, but there are more opportunities. I'll say
for
that.
sure, for
Yeah.
sure. And then similar but different, in the world of narrating books
Yeah.
and being a voiceover actress
Mm.
or, just, the whole art of voice, what advice do you have for someone who wants to be a speaker and get paid for it?
Again, it's not that different. The art form is different, especially in audiobooks, because as an actress, especially on stage, you're very, you're big. Hello, it's this is audiobooks is more like film acting in a way, because you're speaking into the ear of one person
Mm,
and you cannot be big. So for me, in my first year, maybe into my second year of doing this, I had to really learn because here's the mic right here. I don't have to. I'm not even speaking to you across Zoom. I'm speaking right here.
mm,
And so that was a challenge for me to take it down but still have emotion.
mm,
So my acting training helped me in the emotion and all that, but I really had to learn not to push
Mm,
not to try too hard.
mm.
So, did that answer your question? You really asked me about getting into
No,
voiceover.
no, it's this is all good. I'm so
Okay.
fascinated because again, it's like so my background is that I got into music and I started writing and recording my music and put it out there and doing music videos, and I had the big dream, and it never panned out the way I wanted it to. But then I also realized that I don't really like performing in front of people. That's kind
Well,
of an
yeah,
issue if
that's
I'm
one
going to
thing I should
be
have
a
said.
singer. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I love to create it. So what I did was I pivoted. I pivoted, and it's like, well, if I can write a story and a song, I can write content for a website. I can write content for a blog. I can do social media posts. So pivoting is something that I do regularly because I go where the need is, right? And so I have told people, whether you're a painter or a dancer, a musician, an actress, anything in the performing arts, a lot of times they'll say, well, I need help with a marketer. And it's like, well, can you afford a marketer? No. Well, then guess
Oh,
what?
there is that. There
You're going
is
to be
that.
the best advocate for yourself
Right.
as your own marketer. And this happens even with startups. There are a lot of people who are like, well, I've got this widget and I really want to promote this widget, but uh, I need to have a salesperson. And it's like, well, can
Yeah.
you afford a salesperson? No. Well, guess who is the best salesperson of your widget? Because if you can't sell it, honey,
Right. Right. If you can't
how
sell it.
how are you going to browbeat somebody else into selling it if you know what I mean? Like you have to be your own advocate. And
Well,
I do
yeah.
remember a beloved friend's mother so wanted me to do the marketing for her art. And it was just like, please take on a charity case. It's like, even if I did, I still can't promise you that I would do better than you. This is your art,
Yeah.
your
You,
story, and it's really all about telling a story, isn't it? Whether
it
it's the dance story or the acting story, the book story or the art story, it's a story and it has to be told by the person who created it.
Yes. However, and this is where someone like you comes in for and can help someone like me, hypothetically, because I'm it's hard for me to promote myself. Now, it's easy for me to promote a product.
Mhm.
And what's hard for me to see is that I'm the product.
Yeah, I was about to say, Carlin.
I'm the product. So someone like you who's not so close to me, who's not me, can sometimes see a way to help me just get out of my own shell. The fear that I have of doing it wrong, which is just such an oldest child thing. Like, I want to be perfect. I'm a people pleaser. Blah, 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 blah. I'm so worried about what you think, my audience, which is instead of being like, this is me, this is me. And I think someone like you who's used to helping people with stuff like that, marketing, and I think that's where you can come in.
You are so kind. You are
I do. I think that that's
um,
how I would use you if
you
you
are
and I were
very
working
sweet.
together.
Oh my goodness. Well, I'll tell you, when I was 24 years old, I started my first legitimate full-time commission sales job.
Aha.
And my mentor said, because picking up that phone can be rather
Oh,
intimidating,
no
right?
kidding. Yeah.
And he said, face what you fear most, and you will find it was nothing to fear at all. And I would dare say that my daily mantra, because there's always going to be a difficult conversation, there's always going to be something that puts butterflies or
Oh,
fear
yeah.
into your tummy, right?
Yeah.
And then once you get past it, you're like, Another phrase that people use, which is a similar thing, is, eat that frog, get that thing
Oh, yes. Brian Tracy, right?
right. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
get it done first, eat that frog, and then you can enjoy the rest of the day. Sometimes that's not how the day goes, though, right?
Yeah,
But
sometimes.
truly, though, I think that you are just a remarkable advocate for your own talent, and
Aw.
you're right. It's a lot. There are a lot of people you are not alone in this. I would say the majority of people that I work with are just not comfortable with promoting themselves. They're introverts or they just don't have the confidence. And it does take a cheerleader to help, promote what they do. But uh, yeah,
But I
it,
also think, Jennifer, do you agree? It's somewhat of an, and I don't know your age, I know my age, but it was somewhat poo-pooed when I was younger that you don't brag, that you don't, you know, promote yourself. And nowadays, yeah, you better promote yourself if you want to get work, right?
well, I'm 54,
Okay, so we're in the same
and you're
category.
absolutely correct, but I didn't care.
You didn't care. See, you
I
have a
just
thicker skin
literally
than I do, I think.
did not care because I have enthusiasm for
Yeah,
whatever it is that I'm passionate about, and I
right.
can't help myself. So if someone wants me to tamp that down, I'm so sorry. I have a very difficult time putting a lampshade over my light.
That's a good point. I like that. I like that. I'll have to remember that.
Yeah. And that's why I'm naturally a marketer because the minute I get excited about whoever is doing what, I'm like, oh my gosh, have you
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
heard?
And it goes along with your principle because when I write to a publisher from that place of how can I help you? What can I do for you? It's a lot easier
Oh yeah.
to promote myself.
Oh yeah.
And I have to figure out how to do that in social media.
It's okay. Just takes one day at a time and promoting the plan.
Yeah.
So anyway, thank you so much. Okay,
Oh,
what I
you're so
want to do
welcome.
is I want to thank all the audience members for watching with us.
Okay.
And would you please be so kind as to share how people get a hold of you if they want to contact you about acting or
Oh,
narrating their book?
absolutely. I have a website. It's Andrea at andreaall.com. I can send it to you. Do you have show notes or something? Or
Yep.
it's
Yep. I'll have
because
show notes.
my name is easy to mess up because I have three A's at the end. I have the last A from Andrea and I have two A's for all. So it's Andrea at andreaall.com. But
And by the
and
way,
I'm happy to give you my
your
email.
signature is, and that's all, and that's
Yeah, I
all for
say I
now.
say that's all, folks.
That's really cute.
But you
That's
know what? There's a lot. My brothers are so great at using our last name in license plates like Allsome or, all different ones. All right, spelled AAL. I mean, there's so many things to do with it. So I
very
try not to
cute.
overdo it because it can get annoying maybe. But
Oh, no, no, no. That's fun. That's fun.
yeah.
And what is the country of origin for
It's a
all?
it's a Dutch name, but it,
Oh,
it is actually also a German word that
oh,
means eel. And
oh.
I don't know if maybe my family way back were eel.
Fisherman,
I was going to
maybe.
say eel mongers or eel fishermen. Yeah, maybe so.
I
It's
love
one
I
it's one of
love
those mysteries that I
I
don't
love
know the
eel
answer to.
sushi. I think that's yummy.
Ah, me too.
So good.
What is it called? Inagi?
Uh, uh,
I
uh,
don't know.
yes, I think you're right. I
Yeah,
think you're right. It's
yeah.
funny. It's like I know it, but I can't remember the name. But I think you're right. Unagi.
Unagi with a U. You
Yeah.
are correct. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
I love it.
yeah, yeah.
Everyone, thank you so very much for taking the time to watch us.
Yeah.
And
And I would love if people do want to get a hold of me through my website is my email address. So andreaall.com. I didn't explain that. Did I? I did explain it. Never mind.
that's okay. One more time, spell it out for us.
Okay, so it's AndreaAAL.com. That's the website. And then the
Fantastic.
email is Andrea at andreaall.com.
Fantastic.
So
I
I if I
love
if
it.
I did mess it up, now I think I got it right.
No worries, honey. Everyone, thank you so very much and have a
Thank you,
wonderful rest
Jennifer.
of your day.
It was
Bye.
great. Thank you very much.